Program Uganda tukole nyongera okubaniriza nate tutunulira ezimu ku nsonga ezigenda ddala maaso mu ggwanga lya Uganda. Wenjogerera njagala okubajukiza olunaku lwa Wildlife Day era emikolo egyo gikuliddwa waneeno mu kye tuyise Uganda Wildlife Education Center mu Footfoot kye tuyita UWEC. Batambulira ku mulimu ogamba recovering key species for ecosystem restoration era butereevu ngenda kubatwala ku mukolo guno tulabe biki ebigenda ddala maaso ng'eggwanga Uganda lyegatta ku nsenda zonna okulaba nga tukuza olunaku olwa Wildlife Day.
8th session of the United Nations General Assembly under Resolution 68-205. I will not go into this history because the history has been very well put by the Permanent Secretary when she was making her statement. I will now go to this year, 2022. Your Excellency, this year's World Wildlife Day is being celebrated under the theme Recovering Key Species for Ecosystem Restoration. The theme is highly relevant to Uganda. It emphasizes the critical role the keystone species of plants and animals, many of which are threatened or endangered, the role they play in ensuring ecosystem health and human survival. It highlights the need to protect and conserve critically endangered species, support restoration of their habitats and ecosystems, and promote sustainable utilization by the human race. Your Excellency, the figures as far as the ecosystem, about 10% of Uganda's total surface area is gazetted as wildlife conservation areas. 10%. 24% forest reserves and 13% as wetlands. So Uganda has 734 wildlife 734 protected and conservation areas comprising of 10 national parks, 12 wildlife reserves, 10 wildlife sanctuaries, 5 community wildlife areas, and 506 central forest reserves, 181 local forest reserves. And the Ministry of Tourism is responsible for conservation and management of wildlife resources, not only in those protected areas, but also outside the protected areas in the whole country. With these protected areas and beyond, our scientists have discovered 18,783 species of flora and fauna, making Uganda among the most biodiversity-rich countries in the world. And in her statement, the UNDP representative, she did catalog, she did tell us, and eloquently, how much Uganda contributes to the world biodiversity. And you can't really be a better advocate now than the NDP representative. And I thank her. She has so much information, and I congratulate her a great deal. But Your Excellency, the above immense diversity of animals, plants, and beautiful landscapes, mountains, forests, wetlands, and friendly people, among others, have made Uganda a premier tourist destination. Wildlife-based tourism has been flourishing prior to COVID-19 and continues to grow. Africa's traditionally known Big Five occur in Uganda, and these include the lion, the leopard, elephant, buffalo, and rhino. However, Uganda is incredibly blessed with the additional big five that include the mountain gorilla, the giraffe, the chimpanzee, the hippo, and the cheetah. Going forward, we shall be making the Big 10 only found in Uganda. However, this treasure is under threat from poaching, illegal trade, and trafficking. Habitat loss resulting from agriculture encroachment, illegal logging, wildfires, climate change, among others. It should be noted that a number of interventions are being undertaken to restore some of the species facing extinction, for example, the gray-crested crane, the lion, the black and white rhino, Zoka Forest Wildlife Reserve, among others. The Ministry of Tourism spearheaded formulation of Uganda Wildlife Policy 2014, Uganda Tourism Policy 2015, and Uganda Tourism Development Master Plan 2014-2024. We have also strengthened the legal and institutional framework through review and subsequent enactment of the Uganda Wildlife Act 2019. Uganda Wildlife Conservation Education Center Act 2015, the Uganda Wildlife Research and Training Institute Act 2015 as well. In order to eliminate and reduce threats to our charismatic megafauna and many other species, we shall continue to work with stakeholders to implement the various policies, laws, action plans, and strategies to combat species loss and enhance recovery of populations. Your Excellency, our approach is to actively promote effective stakeholder engagement, involvement, and support to conserve wildlife. I therefore implore partners and stakeholders present and online to continue working with us and supporting the Ministry of Tourism to ensure enhanced protection and sustainable utilization of our wildlife resources. I thank all the stakeholders, individuals, institutions outlined by the Master of Ceremonies, the PS statement, who have generously supported this cause. I also welcome the queens who are here, the Miss Tourism, Miss Environment, Miss Uganda, I think Miss World, I think there must be another. But I congratulate you, I welcome you. I hope that after this function you'll find time to walk around the zoo so that you can see some of the rare species which we did arrange for you here to see. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, I once again welcome you to this function, to this occasion, the World Wildlife Day 2022, and definitely wish you happy celebrations. It is now my pleasure. I now request Your Excellency, the Vice President of Uganda, to address us. Asante muno. Thank you very much.
the Honorable Tom Botime, the Minister of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, the Honorable Ministers present, notably the Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Minister of Finance, and the Minister of State for Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, the Honorable Members of Parliament present, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, members of the Diplomatic Corps, and heads of missions, the permanent secretaries present, and specifically the permanent secretary of Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, senior government officials, directors, commissioners, board of trustees and chief executives of agencies, local government leaders, the LC5 chairman of Wakiso district, and your lordship, the mayor, the development partners, private sector associations, representatives of the media, all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to be here with you today as we commemorate the 9th United Nations Wildlife Day in Uganda. I congratulate the people of Uganda and the National Resistance Movement on this very important day. I similarly congratulate the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities for organizing and spearheading arrangements to celebrate this day today in Uganda. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, you are all aware that the 1995 Constitution clearly articulates the need to protect wildlife for the benefit of all Ugandans under objective and directive principles of state policy. The Constitution obliges the state to protect important natural resources, including land, water, wetlands, minerals, fauna and flora, on behalf of the people of Uganda. In addition, the Constitution mandates the state and the local governments to create and develop parks, reserves, and recreation areas and ensure the conservation of natural resources, as well as promote the rational use of natural resources so as to safeguard and protect the biodiversity of Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, you may wish to note that globally, according to the United Nations World Tourism Organization, between 2009 and 2019, tourism saw continued growth and diversification and had become one of the largest and fastest growing economic sectors in the world. In 2019 alone, for instance, international tourist arrivals overnight reached 1.5 billion worldwide, following a decade of uninterrupted growth. Arrivals increased by an average of 5% per year between 2009 and 2019. Tourism also became one of the world's major trade categories, with export revenues from tourism reaching United States $1.7 trillion in 2019, equivalent to 28% of the world's trade in services and 7% of overall exports of goods and services. In Uganda alone, tourism accounted for 7.75% of national gross domestic product by 2018. In 2019, the contribution of travel and tourism of GDP was 7.9%, and revenues amounted to $1.6 billion. This is a significant contribution to our economy, but not adequate to lift our people out of poverty. However, tourism receipts dropped substantially to $0.5 billion in 2020 due to the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. There are, however, positive prospects for the sector growth in the coming years. We need to do more by undertaking aggressive marketing, training and equipping our people, developing and protecting the attractions and improving the infrastructure. It is important for me also to mention that between 1950 and 1960s, a number of conservation areas were created, such as national parks and game reserves, to protect wildlife and its habitats in Uganda. But by 1986, Uganda had 4 national parks, including Queen Elizabeth National Park, Lake Mburo National Park, Murchison Falls National Park, and Kidepo Valley National Park. 3 of these had been created by the colonial government, but since 1986, the NRM government has created 6 more national parks, including Kibale National Park, Semuliki National Park, Buindi Impenetrable National Park, Mgahinga Gorilla National Park, Mount Elgon National Park, and Rwenzori Mountains National Park, to increase our national parks to 10% countrywide. To increase our national parks to 10 countrywide. So I think that's a big milestone for the sector and development partners, and indeed government, and the minister and his team deserve big thank you for this. We did this well, aware that tourism would play a significant role in our transformation efforts as we move towards achieving the middle income status. Ladies and gentlemen, the NRM government thus continues to create a conducive and enabling environment for wildlife conservation and tourism development. As you may have heard from the Honorable Minister, a number of policies, regulations, and strategies have been formulated. Institutions have been set up to facilitate efficient and effective management of wildlife resources across the whole country. The results of these efforts can be appreciated from the recovery of animal populations. For instance, between 1983 and 2021, buffaloes have increased from 25,000 to 44,163. Elephants have increased from 2,000 to 7,975. giraffes have increased from 350 to 2,072. Similarly, mountain gorillas have increased from 320 to 459. That is between 1999 and 2021. Government has been able to successfully reintroduce rhinos back to Uganda that had gone extinct in the early 1980s. The initial population of 8 has successfully bred and multiplied to the current population of 32 rhinos. We have made progress, but we have a long way to go. It is time for us all to work together through efforts to recover declining populations such as chimpanzees, lions, among others. Government will continue to promote tourism as a key driver in the socio-economic transformation of Uganda. We shall continue to implement the numerous initiatives as envisaged in our Vision 2040 and the National Development Plan 3 with a view to attaining enhanced sector growth and increased foreign exchange earnings. As government, we shall continue to strengthen peace and security, which are fundamental for the tourism industry, in addition to investing resources in the sector. There is an improved budget each year for marketing and promoting protected areas, and the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities in general. A number of tourist roads have been earmarked for paving and tarmacking. However, in order to sustainably harness benefits from wildlife, we need to urgently halt poaching, address encroachment on protected areas, mitigate climate change effects, address human-wildlife conflicts, and a number of other factors that are likely to constrain the tourism sector growth. We need to work together to find lasting solutions to emerging threats to wildlife, such as poaching, encroachment, habitat loss, and human-wildlife conflicts, among others. We must discourage destructive activities, sustainably harness our heritage and natural resources for the development and improved livelihoods of our people. Allow me to thank specifically UNDP for the project which I launched when I had just arrived here of the Children's Center, which is a new addition to this very important Uganda Wildlife Education Center. As government, I would like to extend our sincere appreciation to you, and also for the equipment which you handed over to the ED of this area. Allow me also to extend my thanks to the EU ambassador and the US ambassador for their continued support to government in general, but particularly on the tourism sector, and for the support which we also handed over right away of 8 billion Uganda shillings. Thank you very, very sincerely. And I would like to assure you of our continued cooperation in order to move our country to the middle income status. Let me also take this opportunity to thank the Minister of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, the Honorable Colonel Tom Butimi. When Mr. Muzingusi was speaking here and appreciating him, I say that Mr. Muzingusi knows that he has the best. The Minister Tom Butimi is one of the ministers who does a work, but not just doing it, but he does it very well. I would like to encourage you to continue doing so. And also I would like to thank your Permanent Secretary, Doreen Katusime. And when the Mr. Muzingusi was also asking the Minister Musasizi to add money in the budget, I was almost inclined to support Mr. Muzingusi, but I know that the minister might again accuse me, because we do have meetings together when we take such decisions, especially on the budget. But I just want to persuade the minister that having seen what you have seen here, and now I want to give you assurance that Doreen Katsime is a good PS who also puts resources to their intended use. I know her personally. She doesn't belong to a category which needs close supervision. She will do work very well and give you accountability. So I am sure Honorable Musasizi, who is a very intelligent person, has already taken note of that, and I think that you will do something about it on the budget for tourism. I have been to this place very many times, for I want to support the idea of establishing these kinds of centers in other regions of the country. As it was earlier on noted, it is indeed very easy for anyone to think of visiting this kind of area than thinking of visiting a bigger game park. I give myself as an example. I have been deliberately to Kidepo Valley National Park once. I plan to go there once. I have also been deliberately to Queen Elizabeth National Park once. I plan to go there. I have been there once. For the case of Merchant Falls, I normally ask my driver when I'm going to Arua that let's go towards the time when elephants are coming to the road, then we shall see those elephants. And also for Lake Mburu, I always tell the driver when the zebras are about to come out, we let's pass around that time. But I have personally been to this place 7 times. 7 times. And that means that it is a bit convenient. I thank the UN for the Children's Center, because when I came here a long time ago with my children, one of them was in nursery, top class. So she was just holding her crucifix in the hand. And at the entrance there where there is now that computer which tracks, there were a lot of monkeys there. So one monkey just picked her crucifix from the hand, and she was so shocked, we had to cancel her. We were asking her, why are you so shocked? She said, I didn't know that animals also eat the same food like people. So that center will go a long way in helping children to understand the characteristics of animals and consequently coexist with animals after understanding their value. Mr. Musasizi, these people have leopard. The 7 times I've here I've seen leopards. A leopard. I saw a leopard. They have crocodiles. They have ostriches. They have tortoises. The tortoise. They have snakes. They have pythons. They have rhinos, crocodiles, monkeys, and that family of monkeys. And those are a few that I can remember. So when Mr. Muzingusi was saying that they need to feed them, I don't even know what some of them eat. So I think you need to give them a listening ear. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I thank you for your time, and I thank the minister and his team for inviting me to be part of this very important ceremony. And I would like to congratulate the ministry again for spearheading preparations and the people of Uganda for joining all of us to celebrate this important event. I thank you, and I have said all this for God and my country.
Your Excellency, we are joining you there. I am inviting the ministers, excellencies, ambassadors, PSCs to come and take a picture with you. So please, excellencies, can you come over?
Well, that brings us to the very end of the celebration of the World Life Day. That is it. That speech was made by the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, Her Excellency Jessica Alupo. Of course, she made a number of remarks which I think are very significant. But of course, we'll be giving you a detailed report of what has transpired as Uganda celebrates the World Life Day. Of course, a number of things have been emphasized. Of course, namwe abakatwegatako tubadde butereevu ku kitebe ekya UWEC, Uganda Wildlife Education Center, nga twongera okukuza olunaku lwe tuyise olw'ebisolo n'ebyobulambuzi. Of course, kano butime oyo ye cabinet minister akwasaganya ensonga za wildlife, tourism, wildlife and antiquity, akonye ku nsonga nyingi nnyo. Ne vice president oyo ye retired, of course, kwasa ya Vice President w'eggwanga erya Uganda, Jessica Alupo, naye akonye ku nsonga eziwerako ddala. Ezimu ku zo z'akonyeko kwe kutuwa gyenvudde w'ensonga z'ebyobulambuzi. Of course, ayongerera atulaga nti bw'otunuulira okuviira ddala ku mwaka gwa 2009 paka 2017 wabaddewo of course ekitongole ekya World Tourism kyongedde okuba nga kikula. COVID-19 neyewaze ayina engeri gyasobodde munsonyiwemu, ayina engeri gyasobodde okuba nga atuzaamu emaganga eggwanga erya Uganda, naye ku lw'enteekateeka ennungi ezigenda ddala maaso mu ministry ekwasaganya ku nsonga za wildlife, antiquity ne tourism, wildlife and antiquity, balina ssuubi nti ensonga zigenda kuba zeyongerako. Ensonga ya budget bongedde ogikoonako ndooza nga Her Excellence Jessica Alupo bw'asobodde okukkaatiriza, agambye nti ensonga ezo zitera kuggwera mu cabinet era Tom Butime, cabinet minister akwasaganya ensonga za tourism, wildlife and antiquity, bajja kuba bongera okuba nga batunuulira ensonga ezo. Nga government y'eggwanga yeegamba nti buvunaanyizibwa bwabwe okusobola okulaba nti enteekateeka ezikwatagana ku ministry eno zituukirira, era neyebaza n'abakulu ababaddewo nga permanent secretary omukyala Maureen Katusime, of course ne team gy'akola nawo and the entire ministry olw'obuvunaanyizibwa obw'enjala basobola okuba kabakola. Ensonga ezisingako tujja kuba twongera ddala maaso okuzimenyaamenya okusobola okulaba nti tuziteeka ku mmeeza. Gwe omulabi wa program Uganda Tukole ne of course ne TV y'omusuubuzi oziteekera ddala ku mmeeza. N'abakulu aba UNDP abo no bebateekerateekera eggwanga nabo basobodde okuba nga bakoonwako. Tumanyi nti tourism bw'otunuulira emu ku bintu ebigenda otutuusa mu kirooto kya Uganda kye tuyise ekya Vision 2040. Tourism byebimu ku ebyo Uganda byetunuulira bigenda okutuyamba okututuusa mu kirooto kya Uganda Vision 2040. Era ndowooza bw'otunuulira ebintu nga kaŋŋambe tourism kye kimu ku byo. Tunuulira ebintu nga human capital development, okulaba nga bazimba abantu abakozi basobole okufuna obukode obugenda otutuusaayo. Yogera ku nsonga nga industrialization, of course ziringa nga 5-6. Tunuulira ku sector eya oil and gas, zezimu ku ezo zensobodde okuba nga nkoonako ezigenda okutuyamba okutuusa ku kirooto kya Vision 2040. Ka tourism bye tuyita ebyobulambuzi, gavumenti nga Her Excellence basobodde okukutaanya bagenda kubanga bongera okuteekamu essira okusobola okulaba nti ensonga eno ekulaakulana. Ensonga z'obutembeeyi, ensonga z'ebyobulambuzi bwe zikulaakulana, definitely n'eggwanga erya Uganda nalyo liba likulaakulanya. Ezo zimu ku nsonga zisobodde okuba nga tunuulira nga Uganda yeegasse ku nsi yonna okusobola okulaba nga ekuza olunaku lwa World Tourism Day. Program Uganda Tukole obubaka obusobodde okuba nga butuula. Tugenda kuba tuwumulamu katono bwe tukomawo, ate tugenda kuba twongera okutunuulira ensonga ddala nnyingi ezikyagendera ddala mu ggwanga erya Uganda. Nze Fred Makubuya tovaawo, tugenda kuba tukomawo. Program Uganda Tukole.